There is a book the church did not want you to read. For over 1,000 years, it vanished from the Western world entirely. Banned, burned, buried in the sands of a country most people couldn't find on a map. And when it finally resurfaced, scholars who read it went pale. Because it wasn't a book about God. It was a book about the things God locked away. It tells of angels who broke the laws of heaven, of monstrous children born from that crime, being so large, so violent, that the earth itself could not sustain them. It tells of a mortal man who was taken, not once, but night after night, through 7 layers of the sky, into rooms where light is a prison and silence has a sound. His name was Enoch. And what he saw up there? Some scholars believe it's the reason the Great Flood happened at all. Stay with me, because this story starts in a quiet field and ends somewhere no living man was ever supposed to go. Somewhere in the ancient world, generations before Noah, before the flood that would erase almost everything, there lived a man named Enoch, just a farmer, son of a man named Jared. No army, no throne, no temple, just dirt under his fingernails and a sky he stared at a little too long. By day, he worked the land. By night, he prayed, not the polished prayers of a priest, but the raw, half-broken kind. The kind you say when you suspect no one's listening.
The light has returned, as foretold. But with it comes the shadow we so deeply feared.
Not loud, worse than loud. A voice that seemed to come from inside the ground itself. Enoch, you have been found worthy to see what is hidden. Most people, hearing a voice like that, would run. Enoch didn't, and that night, according to the account attributed to him, his body stayed in his bed, while something else in him left it. He described what happened next as being lifted, not flying, not falling. Lifted, like something had reached down through the sky and simply picked him up. And when he opened his eyes again, he wasn't on earth anymore. Before we go up with him, we need to understand why he was taken, because the reason isn't really about Enoch at all. It's about a group of angels called the Watchers. In the oldest layers of this tradition, angels weren't just messengers. They were guards.
We offer you our harvest, Great One. Please, accept these gifts.
According to the account, a group of these Watchers looked down at Earth for too long and wanted what they saw, human women. And in an act the text treats as the original sin behind all future corruption, they descended, not as visitors, as husbands. The result wasn't human, and it wasn't angelic either. It was something in between, and something the world had never had to survive before. They were called the Nephilim. Descriptions vary, but the picture is consistent, enormous, unnaturally strong. Some accounts say tall enough to blot out the sun when they stood between a village and the horizon. They didn't need weapons forged by men. Their bodies were the weapon, and they were hungry, not metaphorically. Ancient texts claim the Nephilim began consuming everything around them, crops, livestock, and eventually, when nothing else was left, people. Entire regions, according to the account, became wastelands of fear. Rivers ran with the blood of forced sacrifices to these creatures who were worshipped out of terror rather than devotion. This wasn't a myth about monsters in a cave somewhere far away. This was a monster epidemic, and it got worse. The fallen Watchers didn't just bother these creatures. They taught. They gave humanity knowledge it was never meant to have this early. The forging of blades built specifically to kill other men. The chemistry of cosmetics used for seduction and manipulation. Techniques of enchantment. The architecture of war. In other words, according to this ancient account, the first real weapons, the first real vanity, the first real dark magic on Earth didn't come from human ambition. They came from heaven's own guards, gone rogue, and Earth was drowning in the consequences. That's the world Enoch was pulled into the sky to witness, not as a tourist, as a witness for the prosecution. The being that met him past the clouds was not gentle. Enoch describes wings that stretch to the edge of vision and a face that seemed to be made of fire rather than covered in it. Before this presence, he says his stomach turned to water, and there, suspended somewhere beyond the atmosphere, in a place with no ground and no gravity, Enoch asked the question every terrified human eventually asks when confronted with cosmic injustice.
The alignment is complete. You have been observed, Enoch.
Why? After everything I have done, why must it be this way?
We must look beyond the horizon. Our future is not bound by this earth. He speaks nonsense. Look at him, completely mad. If we believe, anything is possible.
He's shown a book, not paper and ink, but something the text describes as made of flesh and spirit, containing the entire unwritten history of the universe. Every rebellion, every soul's fate, every secret motion of the stars. He wakes back on Earth changed, sweating, shaking, and he starts talking. Some call him a prophet, many call him insane. Because what sane man claims to have seen the architecture of hell before? Hell was finished being built. The visions don't stop. Night after night, Enoch is taken again. And one of these journeys takes him somewhere the text seems almost reluctant to describe. A valley untouched by sun or moon. Total darkness, but not empty darkness. Occupied darkness. There, chained, are the fallen watchers themselves. Enoch describes them as beautiful and broken at the same time. Beings who once carried the glory of heaven in their faces, now hollow. Their eyes holding nothing but centuries of emptiness.
Why have you forsaken us, Enoch? We believed in you. Now there is nothing left but this darkness.
The earth has become violence. There is no mercy left for us. And Enoch, this simple farmer, now standing face to face with beings who once stood in heaven's own throne room, says nothing. Because it isn't his mercy to give. He's taken further still, deeper, to what the text calls the throne of glory. Flames that illuminate instead of burn. And there, he receives his real assignment, not vague prophecy. Documentation. Write what you have seen. Write how they taught men sorcery and war and vanity. Write how their children devoured creation. Their judgment is already written. You are the scribe now. So he writes. He documents the paths of the sun and moon, the mechanics of storms, the hidden order behind every falling star. A cosmic blueprint most humans were never meant to see, let alone record. And somewhere in that same vision, almost as a footnote to all this darkness, Enoch is shown one more thing, a figure of light seated beside glory itself. A son of man, born before the stars, who would one day return to end the reign of the wicked and establish something eternal. Even in a story built on judgment and monsters, there's a promise buried at the center. But that promise comes later. First, the descent. This is where the story stops being a warning and starts becoming something closer to a map. Enoch isn't just shown heaven once, he's taken through it in layers. 7, to be exact. Each one stranger, each one heavier than the last. The first heaven is almost peaceful, a crystal dome where quiet silver-robed angels manage the weather itself. The rain, the wind, the turning of seasons, mundane work, holy purpose. It's the layer closest to what humans could almost understand.
Let go of all that weighs you down. The journey is complete, and you are finally home.
Chambers holding the fallen angels, condemned without appeal, because their crime, the text insists, was worse than any human sin could ever be. They were never mortal. They knew exactly what they were destroying. The third heaven is almost cruelly beautiful by comparison. A garden that mirrors Eden, guarded by angels carrying swords made of light. But just beside that paradise sits a summit of shadow, the waiting place for unjust souls. watching the righteous rest beneath trees that heal every wound, knowing they'll never taste that peace themselves. The fourth heaven is a hall of golden fire where colossal beings carry the sun, the moon, and every star on their shoulders, each one moving on command, nothing random, every eclipse and sign already written on suspended scrolls. The fifth heaven belongs to war. Hundreds of thousands of armored angels commanded by Michael himself, training around a flame that never goes out. The altar where every battle is decided before it's ever fought on earth. The sixth heaven is a library that stretches beyond comprehension. Every human soul has a book, every thought recorded, and even the angels assigned to govern nations are being watched and judged for how they use their power. And the seventh heaven, the final layer, has no shape at all, just light. Total, blinding, living light, where Enoch falls to the ground and feels his own soul being cut open by holiness itself. This is where he's told, directly, by a voice with no source, "You have seen what many have longed to see. In the final days, your words will awaken the slumbering." 7 heavens, 7 truths. And the deeper he goes, the less human he becomes. For centuries, this book was considered too dangerous to keep in circulation. It was excluded, suppressed, nearly lost to history entirely, surviving mainly in fragments preserved far from the centers of power that wanted it gone. Why would anyone go to that much trouble to erase the writings of one farmer who claimed he saw the sky open? Maybe because the story isn't really about angels and giants at all. Maybe it's a warning about what happens when any being, human or otherwise, decides the rules don't apply to them anymore. The Watchers had wings. They had power beyond anything human, and it still wasn't enough to save them from what they became. So the next time you look up at a clear night sky, remember what one ancient text claims is still sealed behind it? Chained, remembered, waiting,